I like to start off by hearing your superhero origin story because everybody has a story and just what you think would be relevant and how you got from what you were doing to what you're doing now and how you helped in the world.
For many years, I was in the architect industry, and I was not an architect, but I did everything else. Office manager, marketing, human resources, all the things. And so I did that for several years, almost 15, 16 years in total, but I kept sitting there going, I am made for more, right? There's more to me than just this. And I learned about life coaching, career coaching, all of that through my cousin. And I was like, every time she kept talking about it, I was like, I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I went and got certified as a professional coach and started my entrepreneurial journey. And it was really an interesting time when all that started. My mother got sick, and 2 months to the day, she was gone. So it was like very quick. We didn't know she had a brain tumor. And that really was a wake up call for me to help other women to realize that tomorrow is not promised, and we need to pursue and achieve our dreams now because tomorrow is not promised. So that kind of started that. And then working with entrepreneurs, just my sweet spot is what I've learned is helping distracted starters become determined finishers. And so
Yeah.
I am their accountability coach, their cheerleader, their encourager, and I really help them to get things done.
Wow, that's amazing. So outside of my women's community, I also own an admin company and we have clients all over the country. And I think what you just described, we're their accountability coach. We do the admin piece too, but a lot of small business owners, they know what they want and they have this big vision, but they don't understand all the things it takes to get it done. And then to stay on top of it, if you start focusing on one thing and then all these other things, how do you manage it? I know on the information you feel like you talked about ADHD. And so do you typically find that most of the people you work with have ADHD?
A lot of it is not diagnosed, right? But I just have seen, yeah, that we can all raise our hands. If you're distracted often, there may be something going on there. So it's interesting that I just have noticed that a lot of the women who have been attracted to me are those very creative, very visionary, yet highly distracted. And whether they self-identify with ADD or not, that's fine. We don't have to go there, but they definitely have some challenges, right? Focusing and getting things done that they want to get done. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my sweet spot.
I am newly self-diagnosed. I think I've known my whole life and I've set my life up in a way that supports what I need, especially with my admin company where I do a call with the client and I have somebody else that takes the notes and gets the stuff in process because it just wouldn't happen. But recently, and I've really created systems that support that really well. But now I'm like doing this whole perimenopause thing. We just call him Perry. And he's
Yeah.
a jerk.
Yes.
And my brain has been on fire and it's not, the same things aren't working. And so I recognize, I guess it's been just about a month ago that I could be having a conversation like with you. And I'm very interested in chatting with you. And then all these other things are coming in. And so what I did, I started this practice. And if I'm working on something, whether it's talking to someone or working on a project, and something else comes into my brain that isn't that thing, I use a sticky note and I just write it down. And
Yes.
then I go back to it. The first day I did it, I had about 40 to 50 sticky notes within a 6-hour period.
Oh my goodness.
And so I took a picture of it. And so I said, this is what I mean when I say my brain's on fire. And so now I'm still doing the sticky note thing and I started to manage it better. And I have a whole list of random things that don't necessarily have to be done right away. And so at the beginning of the week when I'm doing my planning, there are things that I do want to do, but they're not critical. I just pick 3 or 4 of them and I put my sticky notes. I've got my calendar right here. I'll show you. So for this week, I have 4 sticky notes
Yeah.
things that I would like to get done that aren't critical, but they were rolling around in my brain. And um, I'm curious. I'm wanting to start a YouTube. I'm working on YouTube a lot and building and so I want to know, people talk about having a YouTube TV channel. Do a little research to find out what that actually is. Yeah. And so just things like that. And so that's something that's worked for me. And typically on these micro interviews, what I like to do is have someone share a tip, a thought, or piece of advice. Do you have something specifically that you think that might be good for women? If so, share it and then we'll just have a little bit of conversation about that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I love the sticky note thing because I've told my clients to do the same thing. Like when that thought creeps in, just write it down real quick, let it go, and you'll remember because your sticky notes there. So I love that you're implementing that and it's working for you. It's so critical, right? But yeah, I have this. It's actually something that I'm loving that I get to debut with your audience, Sam. And it's called the Finisher's Formula for Success. And I absolutely love it. It came to me, a lot of my stuff comes to me in divine downloads, middle of the night and twilight periods. And I just get these divine downloads. And so I've always grabbed my phone and I'm either doing an audio message to myself or something else, putting the note down. And this came to me and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And I do have a graphic. I don't know if I can share or not, and I don't need to.
Yes.
Okay, we can go through it. And it's really interesting because I don't know if you know the stat, but there's only like 8% of people who achieve their dreams and goals. And that's not in a year. That is period. And so it's so when you think about that stat, like 8%, that in all the billions of people in the world, that is a very low percentage, right? And then 72% of business owners, they feel constantly rushed and overwhelmed, but only 33% have a daily plan or accountability systems. And that is so critical, right? Because when people have talked about like end of life regrets and things like that, they found that like 83% of people, like they regretted not following through on their entrepreneurial dreams. And that is one of the things that to me is just so sad, right? Because there's so many creatives and visionaries out there and they get stuck, right? They get caught up in either imposter syndrome or fear of failure or lack of confidence, procrastination is a big one too, right? So if your people are like me and have had that procrastination bug, that imposter syndrome, whatever, I've got some great news with my finisher's formula for success. So let me pull it up and I would love to share that with you. I'm like, let me see here. I'm going to put this over on my other screen so that I can keep it all together here. And let me share this real quick. Yeah. Can you see that
Perfect.
okay? Okay,
Yep.
great. All right, perfect. Let me move that out of the way. Sorry about that. I just wanna make sure. So the first part of the formula is time plus energy equals momentum. So the thing about our time, Sam, is that like we're distracted, we're overwhelmed, and time is our most precious resource, right? Once it's gone, we can't get it back. We all know that. But did you also know that energy is tied in there? And so, what I teach my clients is working from their peak energy zone and reclaiming their time through boundaries. And that is something that has been so game changing for so many of my people. And I don't have to keep sharing that for now. I'll share the next step later. But I had a client. She was a work at home mom. She was a homeschooling mom. She had all these things going on, and her time was just being sucked away from her. And so we looked at her calendar. We did like a whole session around her calendar and talked about where her peak energy zone was throughout her day. And she is one of those great people that is like an early bird. She gets more done before 9 a.m. than most people do in a day, like the army, right? And but there's other people who don't operate in that zone,
I
right?
don't operate. I will never be that girl. And
Right.
that's okay. That's
Right.
okay.
And that's okay. But here's the thing, a lot of people carry shame and guilt around that. Right? And they think that, oh, because I'm not an early bird, then I can't be successful like all these other entrepreneurs who are claiming to be the early bird, but that's not the case. And so that's what I helped her do, is walk through not only how to reclaim her time by creating boundaries and then communicating those boundaries with her family, her clients, things like that, and sticking to those boundaries. So she was able to reclaim some time there and then operate in that peak energy zone, knowing that, all right, I do operate best before 9 a.m. Let me get the hardest task done in that time zone, and then I get momentum. So that was that part of the formula. Now let me share with you the next step. So I'm going to go here. So the next step, once we get our time reclaimed, we're operating in our peak energy zone, we've got some momentum going, that's when action happens. So that's when we actually be like, okay, great, let's get this done. So, like your little sticky notes, right? You're like, okay, I've got all these great ideas, I've got them on sticky notes. Now let's prioritize those to see which ones I need to take action on first. Because, like you said, they're good thoughts, they're good things to do, but is it a high priority? So I help
Okay.
people do that too.
Yeah, so I take them, and I'm still doing it. At the end of the day, I look at them and is it something I need to do? Something somebody on my team needs to do? Is it for Sacred Connections or my admin company? I can sort them and then get them done. And then the ones that I have left that aren't urgent are the ones that I just do a little as I can.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that is so smart because, like you said, you've got it all there. Now prioritize, put them in the correct buckets, the correct people. And I have an actual free gift that will help people with that too. So you're leading right into that. But
Perfect.
taking action, right, is really important. And that's that next part of the formula. So then we're taking action. So the next one is we've got our time figured out. We're operating in our optimal, energy zone. We've got momentum. We're taking action. Now you're seeing results, right? And I can tell you from personal experience that when you go through all this pain and time and educating yourself and all the things, and you're taking action, but you don't see the results, that's when people can give up. That's where you have to distinguish, are you going to be, excuse me, are you going to be one of the 8%, right? And getting those results helps you to keep that momentum going and keep you going, moving forward. And that's where the final piece of this formula takes place. And that is, once all that comes together, that's when you get the success that you've been hoping for, you've been dreaming for, you've been striving for, and you finally get the success that you're looking for, right? And success, as we know, Sam, is different for everybody, right? And everybody's definition is different. I have a whole values assessment that I do with my clients too to really identify their core values, because some people, what does success look like for you, right? And is that a core value that you have millions of dollars or that you have more time to spend with your family? What does
Yeah.
success
And
look like?
knowing what your core values are is critical. We talk about that a lot in Save Part Connections. One of the Gratitude Effect Virtual Summit speakers, she spoke a lot about that. And it really is important. I teach a process where I do a virtual 1 day self-led retreat. And it's basically, who are you? What do you want to be known for? How do you want to show up in the world? And what's the cost to you and others if you don't? And then a 90-day action plan of how to create the first step of that. And so without knowing who you are and what your core values are, you can't build anything that's going to last, in my opinion.
And the accountability piece, right? Like you said before, if you don't have that accountability piece, it is so easy to let yourself off the hook. Let's just be honest, right? We're entrepreneurs. Most of us are working from our home now. Who's holding you accountable to do the things that you say you're going to do? If you have your clients waiting on you, of course, they are, right? But they're not going to encourage you to do the behind the scenes things that you also need to get done. So that's where
And
that
it's just so good.
yeah, that accountability piece is so important, so important.
You said you had a free resource that
Yes,
we can
I
click
do.
through to as well. Tell me about that really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a quick graphic for that if I can share. So it
Yep.
again, going from being a distracted starter to a determined finisher, and time is the number one thing, right? So finding your hidden time wasters is a free gift. They can go to achieveyourdreamsnow.com and download that completely free. And It's what you talked about, right? The 4 Ds of time management. Do you do it? Do you need to delegate it? Do you need to delay it or just dump it all together? So that's
Okay.
that's in that workbook
That's
with some
great.
other, yeah, some other little tidbits for them, and happy to share that
Good.
with the audience.
Thank you. I'll make sure that link is there and then they can get connected to you on social media and all the places. You have any closing thoughts before we wrap?
You know what? I'm just so honored to be here, Sam. I think that you've got an amazing community. I heard your announcement earlier, so that's awesome as well. It's so exciting. And I'm just here to be a resource for anyone who is looking for to go from those squirreling moments to really being focused and getting the things done, because it does make a difference when you finish what you start and you can have that sense of accomplishment. And let's leave the regrets in the past, right? And become great finishers.
I love it. Thank you so much.